Good morning, everyone. It's very good to be back. Many of you know I've been gone for 5 weeks now. And it was a very sweet time. I have to say, I didn't leave 5 weeks ago expecting to be in seclusion, but I left expecting to be quiet and inward. My vision was that I would just sit in my house for 4 weeks. Which I don't get to do as often as I would like, not for 4 weeks, I mean even for an hour. Just the whole idea of being home in our community was so dear to me. But as often is the case, Divine Mother had other plans for me. I won't regale you with my stories, but suffice it to say it was a very outward time. And I was good about it, I have to say. I kept checking in and making sure she really knew what she was doing and she was sending the right karma to the right house. But she had her ways of showing me over and over. In fact, it was exactly what I was supposed to be doing. So I was out there, very out there. I will share with you that one of the things that happened is that 2 weeks into my time, my wallet was stolen out of my purse in Safeway. And that's a rather easy sentence to say, but when one thinks of licenses and cards and checkbooks, and so the next 8 days were spent meandering from one bureaucratic office to the next, doing mantras, which even the people behind the desk noticed. They were actually grateful. So it was really all in all a sweet time, a time of just still being able to, first of all, realize where these teachings take us, these things that are really inconveniences in life, but which throw so many people over an edge. And just to be able to keep saying, it's an inconvenience and it's mine, and be sure that it's yours. The woman in the DMV, when I told her she was handling the crowds very well. She was a feisty lady, but she was really getting everybody through their lines in a rather efficient way. And she looked at me and she said to me, well, how are you doing? I said, oh, I'm great. I'm just been standing in the line for 3.5 hours, standing in the line, doing mantra. She said to me, would you please do some for me? I said, I would, but they're much more beneficial if you do them. Anyway, I came back at that moment when I was feeling that it would be very nice now to have 2 weeks of seclusion. So I didn't know what that was going to be like. But what I want to say is, after that, whatever that month was, it was such an incredible joy to walk back into this church a few days ago. I really mean that. I felt absolutely uplifted by the people I work with, serve with, by just the emails, responding to them, interacting with many of you again. What a great gift we're all given, that we get to come back to a place when we're wondering, wouldn't it be nice to go deeply inside now? That was not a possibility right then, where I could feel, wow, this is so good for me. What I need is exactly here in this moment with all of you. I just really feel blessed. I hope I can share that in a way that'll be uplifting for everybody. It was a blessed time, all of what it was, and there's no place else I would rather be right now. So every one of you, I feel, I was thinking about it this morning, and I just reminiscing about years here. Been here a lot of years now. And I realized that all of what went into allowing me to move through a month with such a sense of ease and joy. And again, they were not experiences that most people in the world would have considered easy or joyful. But all of what went into that had to do with not just the moments with everybody that are easy and light and lovely, but all of the ways we get to sort of work out our karma with each other that's not always so easy. I felt grateful for every experience I've had while I'm here, and for every person who's crossed my path, every soul. I carry that awareness. That's what we're all being given by walking onto this path. This reading, which I know I've mentioned this before, but for years was such a challenge for me. I just couldn't get my mind or heart around the word swine, I think, and my very superficial hearing of the reading. And last year, I think I've gotten this reading more often than not over the years to give a sermon about it. And that's been wonderful for me. Last year, I remember mentioning, I think this is true. I certainly didn't go back and listen, but it came to me that I felt, wow, there's such kindness in this reading for the people, the souls that Jesus is talking about, who he's referring to as swine in the reading, but I just felt that's so compassionate, as Swamiji goes on to say, as he expounds on the reading, to not require people to have to really reject something and to go deeper into their delusion. But yesterday when I was reading it, I felt that again. But the other thing that I felt was what a gift this teaching is for those of us who are hearing it, for those of us on this path, for those of us who want to share these teachings anywhere in the world, in our work, with our family, with our friends, with each other. What a gift it is to hold the essence of this reading with us all the time. And I realized that what Jesus is saying in this reading is that while souls are all equal, if you will, when we all attain enlightenment, we'll all be together in a state of oneness. There will be no separation. There won't be a sense that anybody's better at anything than anything else. We ourselves won't carry feelings that we're good at this but not good at that. But the truth is that our soul is on this continuum to wisdom, that as humans, our life is unfolding slowly, each of us at our own pace and in our own rhythm and in our own way to that soul realization of who we really are. We are just at different places. That's the truth. That's what it means for each of us to have a unique astral spine that we move from one life to another with, and for each of us to be moving through our own karma. So we're not all in the same place right now as part of this human condition. So we can't assume, just like if kids come up and ask their parents how babies are made, you don't tell them everything that's on your mind or all of how babies are made. You look at them and you say, eventually they'll know that. They'll know everything there is to know. But what am I going to tell this 3-year-old or this 7-year-old or the 11-year-old? Out of respect for who they are and for what they can absorb, we give them different amounts of knowledge. We give them what we know they can receive. Every week we read our festival, the Festival of Light, which is exactly this. It's a story of each soul on its journey. And it starts out with the little bird, who is all of us, of course. For those of us who have been listening, we know. For those of you who will hear it for the first time today, you'll hear this little bird takes off in flight. And he's told by his parents, take these gifts that I've given you, learn from them, enlarge them, and then share with all as you have received, they're told, for you are a part of all that is. But what does the bird do? The first thing the bird does, the first stage of the soul's journey, is revolt. He says, how foolish that would be to share what is mine with anyone. I'm not going to do what they tell me. And that's how he lives until his journey goes on. And the next stage of his journey, when he realizes that he's not able to do what he would like to do, get where he would like to get on his own, he enters a stage called the quest. And with the quest, he starts asking questions. And once he's asking questions, then the universe, his parents, the beings that he's meeting on his journey, can answer him according to the question that he's asking. And then we know the last stage is the redemption. We read about it every week that says we're not all in the same place. And when we want to go and share these teachings with anybody, we have to be considerate of that. Because when somebody's in a stage of revolting, when that's what they're doing, they're going to pretty much revolt against whatever you tell them. That comes from the inside out. Do you ever notice when you watch people who just move through the world with a lot of anger, they find so many things to be angry about? You know, when I had to make a police report about the wallet, the policeman at the end of about an hour and a half with me said to me, boy, you're so easy about this, because I told him I wanted to find this young woman. I knew I could recognize her, the woman who took my wallet. I said, I'd love for us to find her, because I'd love to sit with her. I want to talk with her. I want to say to her, this is so bad for you, what you've just done. And I said I'd like to ask her to come to work for me and give me back some of the hours that it just cost me. And they said to me, we really hate working with these people who have their wallets stolen, or they didn't say we hate. They said we dread it, because people come in so angry and we get their anger. You know, when you walk through the world angry, the world gives you a lot of reasons to be angry. If you're somebody who's fearful, there's a lot to be afraid of, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. You watch people who have these inclinations, they'll find ways to be that way. Well, the same with this revolt that the soul goes on. If we try and share things with people when they're not ready, they will revolt. It's totally understandable. They're working out. They're not bad people. They're not bad souls. There is no such thing. They're just working out their own karma in their own way, in their own time. They have to. We put them in a position where they have to resist us more, where they have to go stronger into their argument or their questioning, or, as the Gita reading said, their doubt, if we're trying to inflict truths on people when they're not ready. It's so much not the right thing to do. And what about for us? If we get mindful of this and we get thoughtful, it's very hard, particularly when we're new on the path, because we've discovered these truths. I mean, I feel it myself after decades now on this path. You love people, you so want to share it with them. We're so sure it's going to mean the same to them that it means to us. We really want our parents to know what we're going through, and our children, and our partners, and our friends. I mean, it comes from such a good place. But what if we move through the world with more compassion? What if we say, where are they? What can they hear right now? What if we become better listeners? If we say, what are they asking? What are they really asking? Not what I'd like them to hear. What are they asking? What are they ready to hear? What if we extend invitations rather than just laying things on people? You know, when people asked Jesus, where did you come from? What was his response? He didn't tell them his whole story. He knew he was speaking mostly to people who could never begin to grasp it. He said to them, come and see. What a beautiful invitation that is. I remember many years ago, I lived in a home up on Skyline, and it was infested with many creatures, the wood mice. After all, we had moved into their home, which was the woods, and these feral cats. And my husband got it into his mind that he wanted to tame the cats. So he wanted to feed them. And he would put out food, and then he would yell at them all day, basically yelling at these feral cats because they weren't eating the food. He would even try and take them. Literally, not unlike what we do many times with people when we're going to show them the truth, which was dangerous for him, but he would try and put their face in the food. And I kept saying to him, honey, you're not getting it. Feral. You know what feral means? You put the food out. That's a beautiful offering. That is a beautiful invitation. When they're ready, they will come and take what they want when they want it. And I watched him. I mean, it's such a simple thing, but it really holds the meaning of this lesson. During this time off, I went to visit my cousin in Michigan. He's been like a brother to me all of our lives. I really love him. We're very close. He's married. And I was going to spend 2 days there with him and his wife. They're both very successful, competent, highly intellectual people. And they were talking with me about everything that's going on in their lives. He's a lawyer, and he's got a PhD in public health, and he had made this whole career. He was a professor at Michigan, and he had just retired. And issues with their children, and just in 2 days, everything that's going on in their lives. And with each thing, but no spirituality, nothing. He keeps saying to me, can you just tell me what God is? Like, and what do you do at your community? And every time he asks me these things, I just find ways to avoid answering them, because there's no answer that he's going to be able to understand. But here's what happened that was so beautiful. I didn't answer most of their questions, and I just listened as they spoke to me about her mother who's dying, the kids who are having some issues, what they're going to do. It was lovely. It was just opening the heart. It was just like in the reading. I was very concentrated on what I could share with them, which Swami says so beautifully. Open your heart and let love flow really is the essence of concentration. When I got back, there was an email waiting from Peter, and he said to me, and I sort of left feeling it was a lovely time, but nothing. We shared our hearts. That's deep, but I certainly didn't say anything about my path or my life. He said, we really loved having you here. They were thanking me for coming. And he said, mostly, honestly, we love that you brought your spirit into our home. It was just so touching to me. Without any words, Open your heart. Where are these people? How can we love them? How do we move through life doing our best to never set anybody up so that they have to fail? It's a huge question. If you have employees, if you have children, if you're trying to help people move forward in their work, when we're trying, all of us, to help people take both our and their next steps on the spiritual path, how do we do it consciously so they don't have to feel that they failed at something? To really pay such close attention that we're giving our friends and our loved ones, and ourselves, by the way, very much ourselves, that which is next on our path, our next steps. I was just talking to Tandava about teaching our class Raja Yoga. It's a very important class. And we would love to have everybody who comes into Raja Yoga fall in love with Raja Yoga, absolutely know they want to go on, they want to get Kriya, they're not going anywhere else. We would love that because we know how transforming that can be. But Tandava and I were talking, and we said, as this next Raja Yoga class is getting ready to start, of course we'll notice who the people are, and we'll get to know who the people are. And we will know a lot about their lives when the class is over. This is what happens. But mostly, as the people teaching the class, we'll look out there and we'll see souls evolving. One soul and another soul and another soul. Not what we want for them. What are they ready for? Then they feel so loved, and they feel they have the room to walk into the next place to explore. And we feel that we've held a sacred space for them. There's so much in this for all of us. Master said God didn't reveal, or doesn't reveal himself to many people, because mostly if he did, they just want to argue with him. And it's absolutely the truth. When I was reading this yesterday, a movie came to mind. I don't know how many of you saw the movie, McFarland, USA. It's a true story. I happen to be a sucker for true stories, and it's one of those stories where the children who are underprivileged or overworked or not seen are given an opportunity, and they succeed. But here's the opportunity that they were given. Here's why this story came to mind. A man is hired to be a coach of a football team in the Central Valley, and the whole school population is Latino. They're out in the fields working with their parents before they go to school. Few of them go to school. They have to get back out in the fields when they're done. As one parent said to Kevin Costner, the coach, in the movie, every minute you're trying to give my son whatever it is you want to give him, as far as I'm concerned, just taking food off of our table. That's what they were living with. And he was trying to coach them to play football. And one day, his daughter was with him. She said, wow, Dad, these kids can run because they're strong, because they've been working out in the fields. And he looks at them and he sees they're not a football team. They're not going to become a football team. It's going to torture them. They're going to become a track team. And the guy who's the head of athletics said to him, do they know this? He said, no. And the guy said, well, you must be a runner. Kevin Costner says, no. Well, you coached it in high school or something? Nope. And the guy said, okay, there you have it. Just like that. And he walks away. And he takes these kids out and helps them do what they were meant to do. And they can succeed. And they can feel better about themselves and not come in last as the worst football team ever, but rather move on to become more than they ever thought they could be. This this is what's being shared with us today. And how do we do this best? You know, everything I'm talking about, developing our own intuition, keeping our eyes open, really seeing people. Who are you? What is it that I can possibly give to you? Not, as I've been saying, what do I have to give? Listening. What are they asking and what can they hear? Because that's the most beautiful gift that we can give people. Opportunities, places where they can step in. But more than anything, we live it. We become it. We are the example. That's what everybody loved about Swami. You know, Swami spent years, we've all heard this, he spent years not sharing things outwardly with people that he knew, that he would carry out of pure compassion and caring for the soul. This is why Swami said so many times, I care about each individual soul. I read a story in Narayani's book yesterday. I just picked up her book because she's here and she's actually giving service in Scotts Valley today. I just wanted to feel closer to her. Interestingly, I opened to a story where people came to Swamiji with a great idea, and it was a great idea, and all of the money and the wherewithal to implement it. It would have served Ananda in many ways. It would have given them visibility, would have made money. Swamiji listened. He got very quiet and inward, Narayani said, and then he said, I don't at all see how this will serve you spiritually. That is so being right with that soul. That story really moved me because Swamiji could have said, absolutely. And he was there to help them, soul by soul by soul. That's what this reading is. We learn more and more and more how to behave this way, how to be this, how to be the channel that lets the light shine into the world. As Devi said in her blog this week, nothing but light will ever dispel darkness. We want to change people's minds, show them more about the divine, provide a place where they can come and feel seen and heard and get to know their true spiritual nature. We all become the light. We work on ourselves to do that. We do all we need to do, all of the meditation, all of the services, all of the kirtans, all of the guru days, all of the reading, all of that, till more and more and more, we just are that path. It would have never dawned on me to be angry at the policeman or the DMV lady or the Social Security lady or the California Board of Medical, whatever it's called. I mean, whatever. It just would never have dawned on me. Why in the world would I be angry about this? No, it's not what I felt. A little inconvenienced at times. I was never even angry at the young girl who took my wallet. We just move step by step. And then people can feel that, and they can feel loved by it, not beaten up by it, not putting pearls in front of a pig that will never know what to do with it. We have to say, what do they need right now? They want to eat. Let's give them some food. They'll know we care about them. Let us learn how to become that kind of a being who can feed people spiritually, sometimes by what we don't do, sometimes by what we don't say, not always what we try and give and do and say. People will much more readily be able to open the truth that we're all being shown here.